Welcome back to Good Day State Line. Tim Mahoney back with us tonight. So we're talking about the differences and probably some similarities. I'm guessing there's something between very popular conservatorships. You know about Britney Spears, but maybe you don't know as much about Amanda Bynes. But you do.
The big difference that everybody's talking about with Amanda Bynes' conservatorship is that it went very smoothly.
Yeah.
And a lot of the people that are involved in this now that are trying to change the laws in California and the conversation that's really going on around the country are saying, you know, this isn't the norm. So Amanda Bynes had a situation happen at her house. Her parents came in and took conservatorship, her mom being the conservator. She was conservator for a period of time. By all accounts, it went very smoothly, and now the conservatorship is over. But the people from the ACLU and places like that are saying, you know, that's not, again, the norm as to how it all works. And they want to create new laws. And in fact, there's a new law that is in the House of Representatives in California right now to create kind of a hybrid between conservatorships or guardianships. In Illinois, they're called guardianships, and a power of attorney to do something that's a little bit of a hybrid between both of those things. Now, that's interesting to try to figure out how you want to do that, because, I mean, with a conservatorship or a guardianship, you have court oversight. I mean, the person who's the conservator or the guardian is an officer of the court. They've taken an oath to the court, and they have to report to the court as to what they're doing. Plus, they have a level of power, right? I mean, one of the things that was talked about with Britney was, well, she can't make her medical decisions. Well, that's kind of the point of a conservatorship or a guardianship. I mean, if you have somebody that has mental health issues, if you have somebody that has addiction problems, many times the treatment or the medical attention that they need may not be what they want to do or are willing to do.
Makes sense.
So that's the point of the conservatorship, is that you can then say this person's going to go get this medical attention. And then you got to report to the court, and the person has an attorney, and the attorney has to report to the court. You know, with a power of attorney, if I give you my power of attorney, you can do anything I can do with my signature, if it's just a blanket power of attorney. Anything. You can borrow money, you can sell property. I can also set up that power of attorney so it takes effect when a doctor says I can no longer make my decisions, but there's no court oversight. And if it's just a regular power of attorney, I can revoke it at any time. So if I give you my healthcare power of attorney, that typically only kicks in if a doctor says I can't make my decisions. But if I come in and say, I decide, even if a doctor has said I can't make my decisions, if I say I don't want to stay in this hospital, most hospitals aren't going to keep me there unless there's a guardianship in place. They're going to say, we're not going to get in the middle of that. This person gets to leave until there's an actual guardianship. So to create a hybrid between these things, I think is going to be really interesting for a legislature to try to do. I think the better approach is to just have a conscious awareness amongst the judges that once there's a conservatorship or a guardianship, it isn't forever.
Well, these women were both very young, and that is not normal as well, right? Aren't most of these guardianships and conservatorships placed on older people?
Correct. Normally it's either people with dementia, Alzheimer's, that type of situation, or any adult with developmental disabilities typically needs a guardianship. Once they turn 18, they need a guardianship, but that's probably, that developmental disability is likely to be in place for the rest of their life. It's likely to not go away. So the idea was these things typically kind of go on forever. But just an awareness by judges, you know, a new set of judges with a new approach that, okay, just because we enter a guardianship or a conservatorship doesn't mean that that's going to go on forever, can easily happen. I mean, what they did in divorce cases with visitation and custody 50 years ago was much different than what was done 25 years ago, which is much different than what's done now. And honestly, a lot of times the legislature writes a bunch of new laws and all they really kind of do is make them more complicated and we end up doing the same thing. But the cutting edge is going to be done. You know, there's 3 states that are really, really great at writing laws, and it's New York, Illinois, and California. We're spectacular at writing laws, and so we'll be on the cutting edge of this. What's great about this is that this conversation is happening, is that these 2 celebrities brought awareness to the issue, and now there's going to be a conversation about how should we deal with this. And remember also that the more complicated we make it, I mean, these people have resources so that they can hire their own lawyers. They can, well, many times that's not the case, and so then you have to have court-appointed attorneys. There's got to be, you know, like right now, every adult with developmental disabilities in Illinois should have a guardianship. There's no system for putting that in place. a buddy of mine and I, Robert Fagan and I, 29 years ago in Stevenson County, along with Malcolm Eaton Enterprises, started a program where if you're an adult with developmental disabilities and you reside in Stevenson County, we will do a guardianship for you for free.
Okay.
And we've done almost 200 of them in 29 years. And that's just because we were involved with that particular agency and looked around and said, you know, nobody's doing this. So just because they pass a law doesn't mean that there's going to be resources available to do it. So it's really good that there's a conversation happening on the topic.
All right, our last question from producer Emily, which is really a yes or no question. Was the ending to Amanda's conservatorship easier because of what happened with Britney, or were they not even related?
My opinion, yes, much easier.
We thought so,
because
too.
Britney's ending was a surprise.
Yeah.
That the judge just said we're done. So I absolutely know. I think it definitely had an impact.
So Tim Mahoney knows everything, especially when it comes to law. I mean, I don't know if you know everything. We'll find out someday. You can reach him at mahoney'sgotyourback.com or just scan that QR code. Coming up next, we're checking out a beautiful mansion with Gambino Realtors, and then it's Earth Week game day. We'll be right back.